Hey there, Tom Hicks, CPA with J.T. Hicks and Company, Tax Advisors and Consultants. And today's episode is entitled Financial Spring Cleaning. Look, there's a bunch of things that really we should all be thinking about, for after tax season, after we filed our returns, gotten our refunds, or maybe even gotten the bad news about, what we owed the federal government, et cetera. But just some quick things that you can do to change, to affect the outcome of your tax return and your financial situation for 2026. So let's get started with that. Number one really is it's time to have a look at your W-4 form. Right now, if you got a large refund, federal and or state, look, I think you're making a huge mistake here, right? You're giving the federal or state government a completely interest-free loan. Whatever that money is, if you had more than a couple of $1,000s coming back from either, you really need to think about changing your W-4 status to put more of that money in your checkbook every single paycheck, rather than use the federal government or the state government as a savings account, right? So look, we're all paying more for gas, we're paying more for groceries, right? You really need that money in your paycheck week to week. Okay. Next item is I want you to check your subscriptions. Now, if you listen to my radio program, you've probably heard me say this a million times. All of us are dying a death of 1,000 cuts because we're not paying attention to these subscriptions. Now, these things are things like Netflix, Hulu, maybe even Amazon Prime, Apple TV, whatever those streaming subscriptions are. Maybe you're one of these people that got a fantastic offer from the New York Times to subscribe to their newspaper for $1 a week. But that was only good for a year, right? And how many years back? And do you even know what you're paying for, for that New York Times subscription or whatever it is? We all have them, but we really don't take the time, to look at this. And I promise you, you could probably be overpaying for things that you're not even using as much as $200 a month, right? So that's $2,400 in a year. That's something that you could make better use of that money. So let's go on to the next one. Here's one that nobody ever thinks about: private mortgage insurance. Now, if you don't know what this is, maybe it doesn't apply to you, but many young people, when they go to get a mortgage, they're buying their first house, they don't have a lot of money to put down. So they can't get an 80% loan to value type of loan. So a bank may require that they pay for private mortgage insurance. And this insurance, it's horrible insurance. It only benefits the lender. And as your mortgage balance goes down, the premium for this thing doesn't go down. So you could be spending a couple of $100 a month just on private mortgage insurance. Now, here's where it's important, right? Is property values since COVID have skyrocketed. So there's a really good probability that because your real estate or your home is worth more than it was a few years ago when you took out that mortgage and you were required to pay private mortgage insurance, it might be worth getting an appraisal on your property to go back to your lender to say, hey, I've got 80% or I've got 20% equity or more in my property. I want out of private mortgage insurance. And they're going to accommodate you. And if they don't, then you can think about going to another lender, but there's a bunch of issues surrounding that, depending on what your interest rate is, right? So look and see, am I paying private mortgage insurance? If I am, do I need to keep paying it? And maybe get out of doing that. So, all right, let's talk about now is a great time to look at, contributing more to your retirement account through your employer. Again, if you combine this with my first comment about W-4, right, if you're getting big refunds, you could get more in your check every week, and that could go into your retirement plan, friends. Most of us are not contributing enough to have the kind of lifestyle that we'd like to have when we want to retire. So think about, what you're currently, if you're not giving the max, think about ways that maybe you could get to that, right? And having large refunds, of course, that's a way to put more in your paycheck. Maybe you can contribute more to your retirement plan. Also ask some questions about your age. If you're over age 50, you get what's called a catch-up contribution. So you can put in more than somebody who's less than age 50. If you're between ages 60 and 63, you may be even able to put in more than even what I just described, right? So, ask some questions at your employer's office. Think about making some changes, even if you made a really small change, just 5% more, 10% more. I guarantee you this is going to pay huge dividends when you retire. So think about your retirement account contributions. Here's another one that most people forget about, right? If you're like most people, the days of going to work at the railroad or the paper company or whatever it is for 30 or 40 years and you leave with a pension and a gold watch, those days are gone, friends. And you've probably changed employers multiple times, maybe as many as 4 before you're age 50. Look behind you. You may have left some old retirement money at various employers, and it would be a good idea to gather up that retirement money, do a rollover into an IRA account, which you control, and you and your financial advisor are deciding how that money is getting invested. I can assure you, it's not growing as much as it could be with your previous employers as it could be with you managing your own IRA account. So time to do some spring cleaning. Look behind you, look at some of those old employers, and see if maybe you've left some 401k money behind you. Think about doing a rollover into your own IRA account, and gather up that money and make it work harder for you. Last thing that is estate planning. Now, most people think, oh, I don't have enough money to really require an estate, or I don't have an estate. And those things may be true, but that's not really what we're talking about here. We're talking about planning for your own mortality, right? And this means things like having a will, having a durable medical power of attorney, creating trusts. How do you want your assets to be dispersed? There are excellent estate planning attorneys in your community that you can meet with and create a plan, right? Don't become a burden to your family. I really hate when I see this, when people die intestate, and that's a Latin term, a legal term for without a will. Right. So make a plan. None of us are getting out of this alive. We're not going to be here forever. So think about, an estate plan, and that's just more than just a will. This is about leaving instructions behind to your family, to your loved ones, about what you want done, your specific wishes, and what you want done with your assets when you are no longer with us. So, think about, those things. Now, once again, if you'd like to know more about how to become tax efficient, you can visit our website here at jthicksandcompany.com, or you can give us a call at this phone number, 207-990-3127. Be happy to set up an appointment with you. There's no fee to talk to me about what your current situation is and what you could be doing better. So if you'd like to be more tax efficient, please visit our website. Under the Contact Us button, there is a function where you can self-schedule your own meeting with me. So, and let me just leave you with this thought that a tax advisor is not expensive. They are priceless. So until next time, I'm Tom Hicks, CPA with JT Hicks and Company Tax Advisors and Consultants. Thanks for watching.